Okay, okay.
Very good evening to one and all. On behalf of Organization Committee, I, Dr. Venkat Suresh Jilkara, convener of this one-week international FDP and SDP Chonchi, organized by Bapatla College of Pharmacy in collaboration with the Indian Pharmaceutical Education and Indian Pharmaceutical Association. Our chief guest, TV Naransa, is always addressed like this: a teacher is a continuous learner who is required to upgrade his skills throughout his journey of teaching. If he fails to upgrade his skills automatically, it has been replaced by those who do so. So keeping this in view, to uplift the professional skills of faculty, students, the management, principal, staff of Bapatla College of Pharmacy in association with Indian Pharmaceutical Association, organizing this one-week international seminar. I invite all the dignitaries, delegates, and participants to this FDP session. Now, I request our principal, sir, to carry the inaugural address.
Very good evening to all of you. Here we are having two legendary personalities. One is present and other one is past presidents of Indian Pharmaceutical Association, who are always in front to motivate the pharmacy fraternity, pharmacy students in particular. And I know both of them very well from last 2 decades and how much commitment they are having. Today, in spite of their tight schedule, they came forward to address the students as well as the faculty members from various institutions across India. So on behalf of organizing committee, college, I wholeheartedly welcome the both present and past presidents of IPA, the faculty members and students who are participating this virtual online FDP of 1 week program. And I think and I hope you will enjoy the lectures during this 1 week program. And before giving this time to the valuable personalities, I wish to present what is the importance of these natural products or pharmacognosy and phytochemistry. Because our Indian traditional system is far away from Western countries in terms of the natural medicines, from the Charaka Samhita to the current. Various pharmacy faculty are also developed various natural phytochemical constituents, not only from plant sources, including marine sources. And the diabetic, most commonly is an anti-diabetic drug, metformin. And similarly, in the management of cancer, vincristine, vinblastine. So in this way, there are several molecules are showcasing the examples, how they will be useful in case of various diseases, disorders. Even the present COVID-19, to combat the COVID-19 also, we are having various immune boosters from natural sources. And there is a right platform to once again to recommitment about the extension of research work on indigenous natural plant sources. And I'm happy to announce that the 1 week back, our department got a patent on a Costus hyginus extract, which is formulated as a tablet dosage form. So we are also interested about natural sources, and I welcome all the participants to listen the various deliberations during this 1 week program. And because of tight schedule, the Professor Nara Garu and Vadlamudi Rao Garu, they have to they are having several programs. So I don't think it is better to stop myself, and I will request the convener and organizing committee secretary, Suresh, to please continue the proceedings by giving the chair to Narayan Garu as well as Rao Lamuri sir. Thank you. Thank you once again, Narayan Garu and Rao Lamuri Garu for giving your valuable time. On behalf of this institution, I wish to express my wholehearted thanks to both of you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Now, I'm going to give a brief profile regarding our great legendary person, Dr. T.V. Narayan, sir. I know we don't require any introduction regarding our T.V. Narayan, sir. T.V. Narayan, sir, is a legendary person in the field of pharmacy. He's a great personality with a rare blend of academic excellence, organizational and management skills, leadership abilities. Dr. T.V. Narayan, sir, elected unanimously, continuously, the second time as National President of Indian Pharmaceutical Association for the second term as well. He also elected unanimously as the General Secretary of Indian Pharmaceutical Congress Association from 2019 to 2022. During his tenure as National President, he brought up many changes in IPA and made IPA more vibrant and visible both as national and international. To uplift the enrichment or uplift of student faculty community, he organized several international conventions, national workshop, student congresses, workshop and training programs to community pharmacists and hospital pharmacists, and more than 100 seminars, workshops in various places throughout the country. Based on his efforts and services in the field of pharmacy and pharmacy education, he has crowned with the prestigious IPA Eminent Pharmacy of the year 2016, IPA Fellowship in 2005, Fellowship of Association of Biotechnology and Pharmacy in 2018. Apart from this, my personal interaction with Sir is a quite little bit. He is more enthusiastic and encouragement. His encouragement levels are exceptional. We can't imagine at a spot decision he will take and encourage the people. So I would like to express one example in this mood. There is a semi-final national electrician competition is running on. The judge is supposed to elect only 4 members for the final, but on the stage, I think 8 persons has delivered very well, and they have narrow margin, and judges felt that they are very narrow margin, we are unable to distinguish or judge properly. Then on the spot, Sir has taken a decision and he has given approval. That means he has given permission to participate in the final for all the 8 members. So that kind of encouragement he is going to deliver to the student community. And the humanity levels is having more humors, and the humanity levels is giving a donation, a scholarship. It's called a scholarship for poor and below poverty level students. 25,000 rupees he is going to sponsor from IPA for the poor and below poverty level, and who are proved their education background, education excellence. So in a limited colleges and some guidelines has been issued. If the student has been fulfilled all these guidelines, he is going to sponsor that 25,000 for all the 4 years, for especially for B.Pharm students. So that kind of humanity levels is having. So with this brief note, I welcome our legendary person, CV Naran sir, to address the gathering. Please, sir, I welcome you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Standard question. Okay. First of all, thank you, Dr. Suresh, for the nice introduction. Just I want to make a couple of corrections in that for the sake of all the participants and our friends. The scholarship, what you are calling, is not sponsored by me. It is sponsored by IAPA and IRF scholarship. It was introduced during the tenure of my immediate past president, Dr. Rao sir only. And it is 25 members, every 25 colleges we identified. And IPA is giving the financial support to all the 25 students of first year to 25 students, second year, third year, final year. That means almost 25 lakhs worth of scholarship every year IPA is paying to the students of poor and needy. And another one is NEC semi-final. Generally, they will select 6. That time we have raised it to 6 to 8 because all are in narrow margin and all are extremely well that time. So these two. Anyhow, because in the letter way I told you, because somebody others should not mistaken you have told something wrong and all. And coming to today's inaugural function of this 1 week faculty development program, it is my privilege to participate in this 1 week international e-faculty development program and staff development program on advances in pharmaceutical research, going to be organized during 13th to 18th August, organized by Department of Pharmacognosy and Phytochemistry of Bapatla College of Pharmacy, in association with IPA Education Division and IPA AP State Branch. And IPA, we are very fortunate to have a good team from the states of Andhra Pradesh and even from the Education Division headed by Dr. Vidyadhara, and even the principal of Bapatla College of Pharmacy, Dr. T.J.K. Murthy, is also our executive CEC member of IPA, and he is a strong supporter of IPA. That's why when it was announced, sorry, you have to come for the inauguration, I could not say no, because I always consider it is our college, it is our institution, and Murthy is our man. That's what the feeling we have, particularly myself and even Dr. Rao sir also. Whenever we feel it is our college, our people, our persons, definitely we are there to support and participate in the event. And on this occasion, my personal compliments to the management and management members of Bapatla College of Pharmacy and the organizing committee, particularly Dr. T.J.K. Murthy, Dr. Suresh, J.V. Suresh, P. Madhulata, Dr. M. Satish Kumar, Mr. B. Sudhir Chaudhary, for organizing such a wonderful faculty development program with all international resource persons. My compliments to IPA Education Division. Again, Dr. Vidyadhara, during his leadership, has done wonderful activities, particularly during this COVID-19. And state branch of Andhra Pradesh also. They were recognized for their excellent credentials and work for the past 2 terms. That's why they got the best state branch award also. My compliments to both IPA, AP State Branch and IPA Education Division. I had gone through the scientific program and very much impressed with the topics chosen. My special appreciation to all the resource persons from USA, UK, Canada, Saudi, Malaysia for giving their consent and accepting to share their expertise with all our faculty and participants of this webinar. Particularly Dr. Manoj Jadhav, Dr. Buchiraju, Dr. Shubham Dwivedi, Ms. P. Sirisha, Dr. Habib Rahman, and Dr. Malinath, all from all pure international, no doubt in it. People are calling international seminar or webinar by keeping one person, but here all are from various places on topics like translation research, from strategy for drug discovery and clinical development, evaluation of clinical studies, preclinical model development for autism, pharma research in UK and EU, lipid drug delivery systems, advances and future prospectus, nanomedicines for cancer and pharmacy practice in 21st century. Wonderful topics, all these topics, and definitely it is going to be useful for our young teachers and also participants of this faculty development program. If you consider today, if you look at our Indian pharma industry, we have attained several greater heights and we have gone up to number 3 position in the world with almost $55 billion worth of business touched this year. And we have around 28,000 pharma industries, both major players and small players, with more than 60,000 of formulations in the market. And top 10 companies responsible for 45% business of worldwide. And more than 40% of generics are manufactured in India, supplied to US market. And more than 25% all kinds of categories of drugs used in UK are manufactured in India. And we are supplying more than vaccines to more than 160 countries. Every 2 vaccines used in the world is manufactured in India. That's what expert says. And more than 80% of the drugs used in HIV or antiretroviral are manufactured again in India. And we have highest number of US FDA plants, around 500 plus next to US, and more than 150 UK MHRA approved plants and more than 100 UDQM approved plants. With a strong regulatory backup, around 1,900, 550 Central Drug Controller Organization and around 1,500 state regulators. And also coming to our education system, we have around 4,000, more than 4,000 institutions throughout India imparting D Pharm, B Pharm, M Pharm, Pharm D, with around 4 lakh pharmacy students pursuing pharmacy every year. And around 65,000 pharmacy teachers are working at various capacities as lecturer, assistant professor, associate, and professors. And around 3,000 Pharmacy Council of India inspectors are there. Around 8 lakh registered pharmacists were there in our country. And around 50,000 to 70,000 hospital pharmacists at government sectors. Around 2 lakh industry personnel. Total around 12 lakh pharmacists are working throughout day and night, 24/7 during this COVID-19 pandemic. I can proudly say around 8 lakh doctors are working throughout India and 10 lakh nurses are working, nurses and other healthcare professionals. But we pharmacists are working, 12 lakhs pharmacists are working 24/7 during this COVID-19 pandemic period. That's what I want to say, either from industry or community pharmacy or hospital pharmacy, all our pharmacists. And though we say we are number 3, and pharmacy of the world, we were recognized as pharmacy of the world, but we are lagging well behind, particularly in the area of R&D, research and development. Because we are nowhere compared with the developed countries. Till today, we have not come out with any new chemical entity or new molecule till today by our Indian companies. Our Indian companies mainly concentrated on reverse engineering skills and come out with the process patent earlier. They used to manufacture the drugs and supply and make business. That's what we are successful now. Because to come out with one new chemical entity, it takes 12 years of research and around 1.2 billion worth US dollars worth of expenses. Out of 10,000 compound screen, we are not sure one may come into the market or may not. That was the risk factor involved. That's why our Indian farm industries are not in a position to invest so much on R&D and come out with a new chemical entity. But now and then some people are coming thanks to our industry personnel, Dr. Krishna Ella from Bharat Biotech, who is almost a front runner in coming out with a vaccine for this COVID-19. And also Jadis Kadila simultaneously, both are coming out. And IPA, we feel proud, we honored both these industry personnel with Industry Excellence Award in December 2019 during the Chennai IPC. So remaining companies, because of the TRIPS agreement and when we are forced to subject to implement the product patent, we started investing more on R&D nowadays. Earlier 1 to 2% investment in R&D, now they raised it to 9 to 10%. Still less when compared with the developed countries. They are more than 15 to 25% they are investing on R&D. So future we may come out with blockbuster molecule with the research going on the way. And this research, the topic is advances in pharmaceutical research. And if you frankly speaking, the actual research starts at university level and college level. When compared with the developed countries, you take the examples. All the research, it starts at university and college level. They have a tie-up with all other disciplines and industries. Don't think only pharmacy person can go with the research and come out with a molecule. It is a multidisciplinary approach. You need a microbiologist, you need a chemistry person, and so many multidisciplinary. That is what we are lagging in our areas. We have to concentrate much on research at our institutional level, because when 2 years back we got the information, we got the through some source, Israel topped with the patents for the past continuous 3 years with more than 2,500 patents every year. The secret behind this is the university level, the students were given a guide or a supervisor who undertake the research, and continuation of this project will continue. Even that person left the college, he will come and guide the people until they have come out with some success in their research. That's how they develop the research and patents in Israel, a small country with 5 million population when compared with our India. So that type of module, we can think of it, start our research, develop ourselves in our country. Because 2022, almost more than 100 top products are going to be half patented. There was a lot of scope to have research on these products, and very big business is going to come due to this half patent. And our Dr. Gopal Krishnamurthy highlighted about our indigenous medicines and their potential, and more research is required in this area particularly. No doubt, for thousands of years we used this traditional system, but it was unfortunate due to lack of evidences and lack of documentation, the products of this our indigenous system were not accepted in the developed countries. But when I visited, myself and our Dr. Rao sir, we visited several countries, Korea, Philippines, and China. And we have seen in several pharmacies simultaneously, along with the allopathic system, they are selling this traditional system medicines also. Even they are selling the indigenous system medicine for cardiac disorders, for neurological disorders. They're so advanced there. So we have to develop our traditional system. We have to safeguard our original natural resources and continue research in this area and come out with good products. Particularly nowadays, it is proved the indigenous system is working very well for COVID-19. Till today, other drugs are only trial and error basis the healthcare professionals are using. But still, the people who used this indigenous system medicine are saved due to this COVID-19 during this COVID-19. So, with this few words of introduction, I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity. I wish all the participants will make use of the expertise of the resource person, and I wish this 1 week faculty development program or staff development program a grand success. And my another senior and president of Commonwealth Pharmacist Association, my immediate former president of Indian Pharmaceutical Association is also here. I'm happy to share the program with Dr. Rao Vadlamudi and also to participate in the program of Bapatla College of Pharmacy, particularly my good friend principal, Dr. Gopal Krishnamurthy, and another well-wisher, Jalkar Suresh. So with these few words, I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity. I wish you all success. Thank you. Over to Suresh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable message. Now I would like to request Mr. Sudhir Chaudhary to give a brief introduction regarding Rao Vadlamudi, sir. Sudhir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Suresh, sir. Did you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, please.
Good evening to everyone. On behalf of the Bapatla College of Pharmacy, you are welcome to our program. I am so happy to see you together here. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Dr. Rao VSV Vadlamudi Garu, the President of Commonwealth Pharmacist Association. Dr. Rao VSV Vadlamudi Garu having a vast 35 years of career in both academic as well as research. He worked at the first ever director of Bombay College of Pharmacy and also held various prestigious positions in eminent educational institutions. Apart from these academic activities, he also having a vast industrial career. So that he started his industrial career in 1990 and served as the head of pharmacology department in Hochest Research Center. And Rao sir is also worked as a head of the departments in various eminent research companies like Suven Life Sciences and Vimta Labs and Nectar Therapeutics India Limited. He also worked as an editor of Indian Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and he served as the president of Indian Pharmaceutical Association for 2 terms, that is from 2014 to 2018. And currently he is also a member of governing body of Life Sciences Sector Skill Development Council, which is organized by central government. And for his vast research and services, he got number of awards, includes Dr. B.N. Ghosh Memorial Oration Award from Indian Pharmacological Society and Professor M.L. Corono Memorial Lecture Award of Indian Pharmaceutical Association. And recently he also got Acharya P.C. Ray Gold Medal Award in 2019. Your achievements as well as research and knowledge are remarkable in the pharmacy sector, sir. Sir, we are eagerly waiting for your valuable speech, sir. So please join together, sir. Sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening to all. IPA President, Dr. C.V. Narayana, Principal, Bapatla College of Pharmacy, Dr. Murthy, Suresh, several other faculty members, and also Manoj Jadhav, who just joined. Hi, Manoj, how are you? I think we met sometime back in Hyderabad, didn't we? You are muted anyway. No problem.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah. I hear you, Dr. Rao. Very nice to see you. I just saw you, but I did not want to disturb you.
No problem. Very nice. I think your talk is coming up. Translational research, which is very interesting and apt for the occasion.
Yes. And
Thank you very much for. Yeah, sure. I am too. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this week-long FDP, particularly in advances in pharmaceutical research.
Hey, Priya.
Dr. Narayana really put a good summary of where India stands as far as pharmacy education is concerned and pharmaceutical industry is concerned. But while appreciating the advances that we have made or the developments that we have made, he also pointed out the lacunae, particularly in terms of R&D and research. In that background, the topic, advances in pharmaceutical research, is very apt for the faculty development program. Be it research into modern medicine or research into traditional medicine, we are kind of lagging behind because of we get into a shell. And don't mind me if I'm a bit frank, but I think at certain points we have to really introspect and frankly state, particularly in research, we have to call spade a spade. What plagues our pharmaceutical research, particularly at the college and university level? In an ideal situation, this should lead the research efforts of the country, which is true in European continent and in North America. Research in pharmaceutical institutions, research institutions and universities really pave the way for the advances in pharmaceutical industry. We are kind of always in wave of technology development. See, technology developments are only to bring the advances in research to human use. But if basic sciences and research advances are not there, technology cannot drive anything. Technology can drive only those developments in basic research. This we have to be very clear. In advancing our research in traditional medicinal systems like Ayurveda, we have to use technology. Technology is available, but we are not bringing these two things together. As such, the technology cannot be applied to the current state of Ayurvedic research or herbal research is because we are doing the herbal research at a primitive level. When I say that, many people who are involved in herbal research probably do not like what I'm saying. But you just look at phytochemistry, pharmacology research. I read all papers published in Indian Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences because I continue to edit and make them final for worthy of printing. So I go through a cross section of research and we are trapped in the same good old models, pharmacology models, and good old, thinking that it is phytochemicals that are antioxidants and that are bioflavonoids, etc., are responsible for activity. And our research is concluded saying that because a plant has isoflavonoids or bioflavonoid content and it is antioxidant in very standard test like a basic antioxidant tests, which are fundamental in nature, we immediately say that so this plant is effective in treating cancer. I mean, this statement cannot be applied for that research results because there is so much to be done in between. Our research stops right there. There are two other points here. One, we cannot question our own research, cannot question our own legacies. We are afraid of questioning. No scientist stands up and say that I tested this plant and it has no activity, therefore I question the use of it. I am waiting for the day that someone says that. No, the result says, yes, we proved what the claim of ancient world. Well, if you have already proved the claim, then why is it not the mainstay of treatment in the country? See, we have to ask that question. If all the plant drugs can cure diabetes properly, why we still are giving metformin, 1 gram metformin plus glimepiride plus something else, 2 times or 3 times a day to control type 2 diabetes? This question we never ask ourselves, okay? And secondly, our greatest fear is to produce negative results. Suppose if the result is negative, we are afraid at an informed level, the thesis, we cannot say we did everything correctly, but the result is no. The student is afraid, the guide is afraid, because they say that the examiner would fail. So therefore, it has to be positive. You see, the driving factor cannot be an informed thesis graduation. It is the research that is important. Informed thesis should look at how the research was done. We should not look at what is the outcome of the research, because sometimes a 6-month research would not yield an outcome that is of value. And Dr. Narayana gave you an example of how things are done in Israel. So if somebody starts a research and that research work is taken till the very end, so that may involve 10 years or 20 years of research in that particular area. Maybe not that single student, but maybe a group of students who graduated still continue to come and add value to that research. We have to create that type of robust research system. Only then our research becomes highly valuable, and the research findings can impact the state of application of that research in clinic. Otherwise, we say the same thing as previously what was said, but then still the research outcome will not see the light of the day. There are some entrepreneurs, some pharmaceutical researchers, some industry that are taking the research and advances to the next level. Say, for example, vaccine research. Okay. How India is now dependent on, the entire world is dependent on India and other vaccine products. All the vaccine companies which are really in advanced stage of production, clinical trials, after registration, they are looking back at India for the capacities to manufacture a global need of the vaccine. Today the global need of vaccine is in excess of 7 billion doses. If the vaccine has to be, is effective on one single dose. If you need a booster, then you require 14 billion doses. Such capabilities are being built in our country, within our own industry. But however, our academics are still not reaching at any of those levels. This is what I want to tell. So look at your research very, very pragmatically. Look at your research and say that, am I falling into the same trap that every other scientist has fell? So is my research adding any additional value than what the previous people have already added? These are the questions that you have to ask, And your methodology must be immaculate. We don't even question our methodology. It's many a times when I ask the research students, what method have you used? I have used this method. Has this method worked? Then they simply say that, sir, it works because it's reported that it works. See, there ended the matter, because it is reported by somebody that the method works. Is it working in your hands? That is very important. This question has to be asked. So while the speakers lined up, like I know Manoj personally, I know Dr. Raju he worked with me in St. Peter's, and other scientists, there are various aspects of translational research, clinical research. We're also looking at formulation research, development, all those aspects. Those aspects will give you a message, and please take that message and try to, fine tune your research to reach meaningful ends. That's what my sincere advice to all of you. If that needs to be to do a lot more reading, I think the current situation is preventing us from going to the lab, but it is not preventing us from accessing volumes of literature, volumes of information that is online to read and understand, exactly where we are, and try to apply some of the things that we learn in our day-to-day life. With this message, I thank one and all for giving me this opportunity to say a few words that right from the bottom of my heart. It may look like it is questioning our research. Please don't be afraid of asking the questions, or don't be afraid of being questioned. Because if you can stand up to any questions, then you are a scientist of caliber. Please remember that. This is my message, and wish you all the best. I wish all the best to all the speakers for delivering their best, and for the participants to get the best out of this program. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you for your elaborate explanation regarding advances in pharmaceutical research. Now I'd like to invite Manoj P. Jadhav,
Manoj Jad.
the eminent speaker for today's session. Jadhav is responsible for strategic scientific planning and business function for organizations. He brings more than 12 years of experience in academic and industrial research, pharmaceutical development and regulatory affairs experience in US, India, with small molecules and peptide therapeutics. Before starting this company, right now he is the founder and CEO of Translation Clinical Pharmacologist. So before starting this company, he served as Vice President, Clinical Development and Business Strategy at CRC Pharma-based Parsippany, New Jersey. He is a trained clinical pharmacologist with extensive experience in planning, designing, execution, and interpretation of clinical studies. With this brief note, I would like to invite Manoj Jad to deliver his valuable session.
Yeah, just let me share the screen first. Can you see the screen, please?
Yes,
Yeah.
Just zooming it out. Yes. Okay. First of all, very good evening to each one of you, and I was so happy to see Dr. Rao joined into this discussions. Before I start my talk, I want to just share my sentiment and whatever I was thinking this morning, that what I should be speaking with. I think Dr. Rao and Dr. Narayana already, spoke my mind in totality. And yes, rightly said by you both, Dr. Narayana and Dr. Rao, what we need from Indian context. Don't take me wrong, I am also Indian. I'm very much at the heart of, very much Indian, although I am sitting here. My context is that we have to, in true sense, create clusters or schools where we can, in true sense, teach the faculty first. I don't want to get the students involved at all at this point of time. Next 5 years, forget about students, but don't take me in a constructive way. We have to train these teachers so constructively with utmost focus. And that's why I have been, it's my dream, or, whenever I reach to that stage, I want to start an academic institute where they teach the faculty, in true sense, translational drug development. We do not want the faculty to just know only pharmaceutics. They must know what is pharmacology, how does medicinal chemistry can contribute, and all the divisions should work hand in hand along with appropriate clinical affiliations. And unless that do not happen, what Dr. Rao and Narayana said, we are not going to create any new chemical entities. That is, I am so confident. And that's why I also suggest, or opine, because Dr. Narayana is in a leadership position, Dr. Rao is a globally known expert in pharma education and research. So if we all can come together and create a team-based learning system, and it should not be just a discussion as a part of this faculty development program, that I come, I speak nice words and beautiful thoughts, and after this 1 hour talk, I am away off the radar. You guys are busy with your domestic activities. I truly want somebody to take leadership, and you national leaders are sitting here, and I would volunteer, and I will be more than happy to contribute to this designing of such programs. I can bring in people from US, including me. I have now enough experience to motivate people from a drug development perspective. And why not we develop a unique translational drug development institute where we identify 20 people, period, 20 people, train them to be able to train another 20 people over the period of next 2 years, and so forth and so on. Then only drug development will begin. And another thing, just to add on, because once I go, other dignitaries might have another commitments. Another thing, what I think is important, just now Dr. Rao said phytopharmaceuticals or natural products research. What I believe is that, and I was also talking with Dr. Suresh the other day when he was discussing with me some of his research areas. Why we can't go to the highest standard, because the modern world has their own limitations to accept what we generate as a scientific data from natural or Ayurvedic products. Why? And at US FDA, there are provisions, they call it as a botanical IND. We need not have to rush and run towards isolating the things from the given extract, and which we know the moment you extract something as a specific single component, it loses its holistic pharmacological activity. So my recommendation would be, let us go ahead, work together as a very strong, cohesive global team with the utmost focus, identify one disease area, identify 10 people who are just working in that area. We can create that ecosystem, and I will help you guys to reach out to US FDA to get their favorable responses and recommendations that how exactly we can develop those botanical extracts. I'm not talking about NCEs in the sense, I don't want we to identify one compound from say turmeric and keep on playing with it forever. No, use the extract as is and see how we can match to their global standards. And just now Dr. Rao said, we are into our ancient quantification and research style as far as phytopharmaceuticals are concerned. So I echo your sentiments, and probably the leadership has to support the local young dynamic faculty. And as I said, I'll be more than happy to contribute and give my time to such initiatives, which would urge is to that why we are super fine brains. Let me tell you guys, I am here. Indian neurons are one of the finest neurons. What they need is a right stimulus and right direction and appropriate resources, encouragement. If that is there, take my word. See why I am talking all these things, because 10 years I came here, I learned the system, how they talk, how they think scientifically, and present it to the community. Now the people who are right now in this call, some of them might be the finest brains. They can create wonderful results. And therefore, and my talk, as I will continue talking, repurposing is the key, and that is where we as Indians can make the significant contribution to the world. We have our own limitations, but we also have our biggest strengths, manpower. Technology is sophisticated, one of the finest in the world. I have no hesitation to say that. but we need a very structured training to the scientific community, and especially from academic perspective, the teachers have to be trained. If the teacher don't know what he or she is going to teach to their students, ethical, scientific, merit-based research. So with this offline opening thought, because it was kind of inaugural part, I wanted to echo my thoughts also with the leadership. And if you permit, now I will walk you through some of my thoughts, which I think we all have to pay attention to as a faculty. So just to let you know, I have also worked as a teacher when I was in India. So a teacher in me is waking up. So don't take my comments sometime too ambitious. I know unless we don't have big dreams and ambitions, we can't do many things. So I'll be happy to walk you through some of my thoughts. So this presentation is divided into 2 or 3 sections. In the beginning, I would walk you through the very unique situation we all are witnessing globally, and all of us are healthy and fine and doing good. So that's a blessing for each one of us, because we have lost so many people during this pandemic, and we know now numbers are so huge. More than 10 million people across the globe have contracted this virus, and it is not stopping anywhere. And which is a lifetime event we are witnessing, which is not so great to witness, but we are witnessing or going through this very unique, challenging situation globally. And we all know, I will be connecting these dots, that how and why we should be, we can make a significant difference into this pandemic situations and going forward.
Dr. Manoj,
yes.
Go to the full screen.
Sorry?
PowerPoint, go to the full screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is fine.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it is fine.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so my intent was that we know that more than 10 million people have contracted this disease, and there is no, as of now as we speak, there is no definitive treatment available. So there are multiple approaches being explored by the global scientific community, both in academic and industry, very aggressively, to identify if they can block the virus from entering into the lungs, and if at all the entry of the virus has happened, how we can prevent the viral replication, so that it does not cause multiple complications once inside the body. And multiple drugs which are being explored are mainly antivirals, vaccines, and some plasma components are being also used. And I recently read that, especially from China, there are more than 100 clinical trials are happening where they are trying to explore the use of traditional Chinese medicine. And same is the case with Indian context. I remember, or I read recently, that Ayush has recommended some natural formulations from Ayurveda to be used by the population as a preventive measure along with the standard of care. So, multiple approaches are being tried and explored and being investigated globally. And by now, each one of us who are, we all come from scientific background. Some of the complications, once the virus is not tackled into early phase of its infection into human, it leads to something called as cytokine storm, and that complicates the whole disease pathology and complications affecting multiple organs in the body. And that leads to severe conditions, from where we started at as a mild symptom, sign and symptoms, typical sign symptoms. And if not treated, or the people have immunocompromised status or a comorbid condition, that complicates the thing and leads to something, it has become a buzzword. It is nothing but derailment of your immune system, which might lead to inflammatory response of the body. And as it aggravates and immune system is not able to cope up with the such acute surge of inflammatory biomarkers, and the lung is a very sensitive organ in once the complication starts beginning, and it is interconnected to other organ systems in the body, and therefore it becomes very challenging to treat that patient if once he or she gets into from moderate to severe stage of their disease progression. And as I said, each one of us being from the scientific field is always thinking and trying to see and understand how we can find out some cure to this very challenging situation. And as we know, drug discovery is not an easy process. It starts from target identification. Dr. Narayana just said 10 years, 12 years, several $billion, and this is in the current pandemic situation. We cannot have, or we do not have time and resources to go through this series of evaluations to get a new drug. So new drug becomes an out of context in the current scenario. However, there are its own pros and cons. Now vaccine, where we have to develop it as a new, we cannot have an already existed vaccine, but we can repurpose some existing vaccines which can be if proven safe and efficacious. So now I want to change the gear. What has happened in last 8 months, I would say. All the systems, global important systems have collapsed. The world has become as good as standstill. And it's a competition between one virus and the rest of the world globally. It has never happened in the history, if I am not wrong. That whole world has got into standstill position. However, means you name the industry which is not impacted. Every industry has been impacted globally because of this pandemic situation. However, the most important and critical part which has been played into containing this pandemic is healthcare professionals, of course, physicians, nurses, and other staffs. But I am proud to say that the pharmacists must have and have been playing a very important, critically pivotal role in containing this pandemic situation. So when I say pharmacist, he or she need not have to be just sitting in a pharmacy shop, but the people with pharma background have been contributing to developing drugs, repurpose vaccines and whatnot, both in industry and academia. So we should be proud being a pharmacist that we have been able to contribute based on our capabilities to this pandemic situation. And I heard Dr. Narayana saying that 12 lakh Indian pharmacists are working day and night, which is not an easy task. 1.2 million pharmacists is an asset. It's an asset. Nowhere in the world would have that many number of pharmacists available who are contributing to this pandemic situation. So we all should pat ourselves saying that, yes, we are doing a very important and humanitarian job by, contributing to this pandemic situation. And by now we know new drug development is beyond the context of time constraint of this pandemic, and therefore the overall focus of the whole world all of a sudden has been only on repurposing of the existing drugs and find solutions for this COVID situations. Now on the left hand side, if you see, this is little old cartoon, but now there are more than 1600 clinical trials are happening as of now as we speak, and 98% of these trials are repurposing trials. Means some of the drugs which are already in the market being used by different therapeutic indications globally are being repurposed, or they are trying to see a different combinations. And we have read and followed the success stories or controversies around these repurposing stories across the globe. So what I imply that, repurposing is a key which has played a critically important role in this pandemic situation. Now I am changing the gears from giving this current background that why this pandemic has been so devastating, and how we as a pharmacist have contributed to this pandemic situation very constructively and in a very structured way globally. Now I want to take your attention to what is my passion and what I really want to do is translational science. We know it is nothing but, I'll read it for you, for especially the young faculty who are joining. It is nothing but which we have been reading and hearing from people, that what is translational. We always say bench to bedside and reverse, bedside to bench. It is nothing but translational research in a broader sense. It's a fancy term being used, but now we have to go with the flow at times to make people understand it the way. And or it is also called as a reverse pharmacology. And I know Dr. Ashok Vaidya from Mumbai, he has come up with this reverse pharmacology term, and it is nothing but translational science. Or going back from bench to bed, from bedside to bench, make the necessary changes in your current limitations or current adverse events which you have found into the treatment which is being used by the public at large, and modify it. And that's nothing but repurposing. But here in US, they have coined it as a translational science or a translational drug development strategy. It is nothing but turning the observations from bench to bedside and reverse. That is what I would simply say. But it is a unique science where we want to connect the dots again as simple. Let us not complicate it. I don't want to project it to be very complicated stuff. It is very simple stuff in the sense we have to, but it has its unique challenges we have to focus on. We have to identify new approaches to do that reverse pharmacology or translational science in a more effective way, which would have a clinical implication. It should not be just like, we are doing something for the sake of publishing a paper or filing a patent. The research should not stop at all there. I would say a patent and a publication gives your proof of concept and you a good confidence that yes, now it's a time for me to move to the next level of drug development. And that is what I want all the academic institutes, leadership to integrate these departments and these key areas of streams of drug development, which would in true sense bring, or I don't want an academic institute. If it happens, I will be more than happy to develop a drug per se as is, but take it to the next level, from non-clinical, bridge it to the clinical first in human for a already approved drug, and then let the pharma or some other big collaborators locally or globally contribute to the whole drug development program. So it is, I would read this definition for the young faculty, that it is nothing but a field of investigation where we focus on understanding of the scientific and operational principles underlying each step of the translational process. And that is where, as I said, once we have something in the discovery lab, discovery phase, it has to go to the preclinical. When you have evaluated some molecule or your herbal product into appropriate cell line and then animal models where you have proved it is safe, efficacious, you have done pharmacokinetic characterization and some mechanistic studies, that gives you a robust confidence. What we have seen, and I myself have seen, and I echo Dr. Rao, that they do one study, effect of this on this, one rat paw edema model, it shows anti-inflammatory activity. What next? The story stands there. And the student passed out, he does take MPharm or PhD thesis submitted, the story goes off. But my intent is that we have to take that story to the next level, and then only we will be able to create new treatment modalities, because we as an India, we are a relatively resource poor country. Now we cannot do and develop fancy stuff the way developed world does, because they have resources and money. We have to find out our own ways how we can satisfy our local needs for treating infectious diseases. That is one of the biggest cause of concern. And we are, again, most of the pharmacy schools, don't take me wrong, they are busy identifying and studying the anti-cancer activity of 10 phytopharmaceuticals. My recommendation, why not we just focus one disease area, work on that disease area in an integrated fashion. Bring 10 experts from different schools. Just one, say diabetes, take diabetes research for next 3 years. Only focus on that. Come up with a botanical, which I would help you to go to US FDA and get the necessary clearances or recommendations, which would in true sense bring a unique product, which Dr. Rao said. Why can't we are not using as a mainstream drug therapy for treating, say, diabetes? We have anecdotal evidence, but why we are not creating a robust, which can match to the global standards and create a challenging situation to the Western world that yes, we have done it as per your norms, but this is the clinical evidence, and now we want to bring this drug globally. We should be able to do that. And that's my urge. Sometimes I feel very acutely sad that why can't we do that? So this is nothing but the basic definition, what is basic, preclinical, clinical, and public health research, which I explained in that cartoon. And if I want to share a story, when I was doing my bachelor's of pharmacy or master's, I always used to hear one thing, that pharmacists are jack of all, master of none. That's a very standard description of a pharmacist, and especially in Indian context. So, but now after going through the whole cycle for last 20 years, from 1996 till now, I think pharmacists are one of the finest minds who have the unique ability to connect the dots of translational drug development. Now you would say, on what basis you are saying, Manoj? Because the kind of science we study in our 4 years of bachelor's in pharmacy curriculum, which gives us the most important, sometimes when we study that biopharmaceutics and clinic pharmacology, chemistry and physical chemistry and analytical chemistry, all these things we study during our early days, but we never tend to connect those dots and why and how. Now, when I go to US FDA, believe me, those skills which I have learned during my early B Pharm days, and those principles are still helping me. What is the solubility? What is the BCS classification? What would happen if molecular weight is X, whether it is going to be a right route of administration? If that is the case, what should be my dosage form? And if this is the dosage form, what would be my PK properties? And if these are my PK properties, how it is going to help me clinically? This I learned in my B Pharm days, basic principles, and those are not changing at all. Those are universal principles, and therefore on those same lines, a good translational scientist, or I would say translational pharmacist, why can't we call ourselves to be a translational pharmacist who can play a critical role in any scientific community or scientific organization, let it be in academia, industry, or any policy makers? We can make a significant contribution to that and keep properties of a good translational, or I would say for today, a translational pharmacist would be, he must have a rigorous researcher, you must be a good communicator, and you should have a domain expertise. Suppose your area of expertise is pharmacology, you have done MPharm and PhD in pharmacology, you must understand it in totality with utmost holistic way, but you should know around it also. If you don't know around it, how a molecular weight or chemistry molecule would make contribution in eliciting desired pharmacological action, then I am not serving the purpose. Then I am working in isolation and I am in my own world. So therefore, I believe that a team-based science and a good translational pharmacist should be a team player, and boundary crosser. You don't have to just know only pharmacology. Why can't we identify some good formulation characteristics and so forth and so on? So, and by now, Dr. Nara said, it's a drug development. Finding a new molecule is a long process, laborious process, involved multi cross-functional contribution from different experts, enormous money involved. And each one of us would agree, there is significant high attrition rate. Developing a new drug is not a joke. It's a very risky ball game. we take the medicines which we already have very lightly and granted. It is not an easy effort to get one drug into the market which is safe and efficacious. It's a daunting task. And so my belief is that currently the global pharma industry has its own challenges, and we have to find out the ways, and there is a significant unmet medical need across lifestyle and communicable as well as rare diseases. Classical example we all are witnessing, COVID-19, infectious diseases. Now people in Boston in US, they are coming up with new big funds of $2 billion, $800 million to revive the infectious diseases drug development research. So I urge India can be a leader in working in the area of infectious diseases. And therefore, I believe repurposing is something very important strategy we all have to follow going forward. So it is nothing but a strategy for identifying new uses of approved or investigational drugs that are outside the scope of original medical indication. So in simple terms, let me give you an example which already all of you know. Hydroxychloroquine is a classical anti-malarial drug. Now in this pandemic, it has got the attention of the whole world. Can it be used for treatment of COVID-19? So primary indication is malaria. Now repurposed or new indication of hydroxychloroquine has been discussed extensively for the treatment and prevention of COVID-19 pandemic. So this is the classical example of repurposing. And what are some of the advantages of repurposing are the risk of failure is less. Now you would ask me why? Because the safety of that drug is known. Safety is known in the sense we know its limitations and strengths. And in many of the situations, we don't have to repeat the non-clinical and clinical safety studies again to prove that the drug is safe and it is not causing toxicity up to certain dose levels. And of course, we can do this in a shorter period of time, 3 to 5 years as against 10 to 12 years with an NC. And of course, it needs relatively less financial investment to run these drug development programs. Now, what are the key approaches for such drug development strategies? One would be hypothesis generation. We cannot just wake up in the morning and drink a cup of tea and say that, okay, I want to work on this molecule for this repurposing. No, it has to be a very sound, systemic, scientific exercise done by a group of experts. You might come up with an idea, but go evaluate your idea and hypothesis. Is it going to make a clinical benefit to the patient? Always, when you are doing a research, my urge to all the faculty is, please, whatever research you are planning for your students for their masters and PhD or your own research projects, always think about the patient. Put that patient of that disease in front of your eyes. Understand the pathophysiology and current complications of that disease condition and how the patients are going through those complications. And only then, if you can see the patient in totality in front of you and understand it, then only you can create a clinically meaningful hypothesis. And once hypothesis has become a robust hypothesis, I am so confident that you have the next stage to do its assessment through appropriate animal studies to conform or create or generate a proof of concept, which is going to be very critically important for your subsequent development program. And once you have generated some evidence in your non-clinical drug development status, then you can plan for clinical study. And my recommendation is also that always try to establish some clinical some collaborations with some clinicians or hospitals. You must have clinicians working with you to contribute to your drug development programs. So this is same thing what I mean to say. What are the different approaches used for drug repurposing? You being pharmacist and faculty, it's a complex process, but you need to identify what pathway you are trying to identify. Find out from the clinical studies or literature which is already published, is there any correlation between your hypothesis which you are thinking and the drug and new disease target you are trying to focus on. Then phenotypic screening and appropriate signature matching, molecular docking, genetic association. So these are the typical characterization we can do to do repurposing more efficiently. So I won't go into much details in the interest of time. I mean to say in simple words, have your hypothesis to be very robust, do appropriate early stage evaluations in analytical evaluations, formulation, development, thinking, and appropriate proof of concept in animal models. If you have done that in a very structured way, I think you have a nice way to transition or translate that early stage program to a clinical stage. Now, this is important part. Next few slides, I want to tell you that how repurposing is going to be important from regulatory perspective. It need not have to be just what you are doing in the academic setting is the end. No, that is just the beginning of the whole story. If you are doing some research, you always think that how I can deliver the research idea or the product which I am trying to build to a patient. Now, from that idea to reaching to this, when I said bench to bedside, so to reach to that bedside, we must have and we must use or get necessary regulatory approvals. And US FDA has got these three key regulatory approval pathways. One is NCE, that is 505B1, where all the data is generated is by the sponsor for both non-clinical discovery and clinical assessments, what they have done. And the third one, 505J, generic products and abbreviated new drug application. That is where India's strength is. And that's why Dr. Narayana said that we are third bulk producer of the drugs in the world. That is an asset for us. That means we have capability to scale up and create or, me too products in the utmost highest quality products. Now, the first box on the left hand side, which is NCE, is a challenge for us because of resources and financial limitations. The strength is on the third box. Already we have. My recommendation is that why can't we come in the midway, which is a 505B2, that is nothing but hybrid between a generic drug and a new drug. Now, he just said, in 2020, some X number of drugs are going off patent. So now, when they are going off patent, Indian pharma industry, 90% is thinking about the third box. How I will create a generic, how I will run a bioequivalence study, prove that my product is equivalent to the RLD and put it into US market or globally. But is it going, are we contributing scientifically incremental contribution to the science? No, I'm being very candid. So my urge, and I really feel that the middle box, which is 505B2, that is where we as a scientific community, especially Indian pharmaceutical community, both in academia and industry, have an important obligation to focus on this area. And why I so in Indian DCGI, based on my understanding, we do not have any guidance on repurposing of the drugs. I'm not sure, don't take me wrong. It might have been drafted because we got some approvals recently for some of the repurposed drugs, but they have been given on compassionate use or emergency use authorization. But we need to develop, and I know Dr. Current DCGI, I forgot his name, Dr. Ishwar. Yeah, so Dr. Somani, yes, Dr. Somani. Yeah, I met with him last year itself. So, I would urge him and Dr. Narayana and other leaders local that we should have our own guidance for repurposing of the drugs. And we can take leads from or inputs from global regulatory agencies. And I don't know, don't take me wrong, because this is a sensitive topic. I don't know if there is already a guidance. If that is there, that's a welcome initiative. And FDA has got a guidance for this repurposing. It was this story started in 1984 when there was a guy who gave recommendation that why we have to do redundancy. Once we know, say, ibuprofen's animal and clinical efficacy has been proved in appropriate animal models, and I want to work on the same molecule for a different indication, I don't have to redo the safety parameters and toxicity assessments. Because the drug is being used in animals and humans for ages, we know the safety profile of it. So based on that, prevent the redundancy and reduce the time for development of the drugs. And that's the essence of that guidance. In short, I can talk 1 more hour on that, but we should have that guidance. So on that guidance, this is the typical guidance definition, which I would not read. What that guidance says, you can use some of the data which is publicly available or submitted by the sponsor to the regulatory agency. Some of that data can be used as a supporting evidence from safety perspective or efficacy also. If you are not changing the indication, you can say that within the approved doses, suppose ibuprofen is approved for say 400 milligram dose twice in a day. So if you are repurposing something and creating a sustained release formulation of say 100 milligram of diclofenac, then you don't have to prove the safety of that drug in a specific population. You have to just prove the bioequivalence or doing appropriate PK breach studies, and you can prove that my 100 milligram of ibuprofen is equivalent to 800 milligram of ibuprofen, which I am giving twice in a day. But it's not so easy as well. I'm simplifying it, but it is relatively an easier pathway to get on to drug development in a faster way. And as I said, NCEs are new molecular entities. Suppose classical example, remdesivir, it's a new molecular entity being developed for some another indication. But now that has been widely and globally used for COVID treatment. So this is the classical example of repurposing strategy. Or changes to previously approved drugs. As I said, hydroxychloroquine, approved for malarial, anti-malarial indication, now globally under some controversies being used for treatment of COVID. And I want to emphasize this third point, formulation changes. That is our asset. Nobody in the world, take my utmost conviction and confidence, we Indians are one of the finest formulation experts. Why are not we creating the most unique formulations? Suppose I will give you an example. There are many antifungal drugs. They are given intravenously. Now, why we can't create formulations which can be more palatable or have a better solubility profile? Most of the drugs, and in pharmacy schools, most of the pharmaceutics faculty are focusing on solubility enhancement. Categorizing from class 4 to class 1 or BCS classification. We can spend very unique expertise what we have, identify 10 drugs, see if we can improve their solubility profile, reduce the dose, reduce the side effects, make a patient compliant, safer formulation. In India, every lab, every pharmacy school, every pharmaceutics faculty, he is a champion. I'm telling you, champion. No any other lower word. Why I'm saying so? If you come to US, I have been to several pharmacy schools. Their focus is not on developing an effective formulation. Their focus is on clinical side. They want to correlate clinically and do pharmacokinetic dynamic assessments. But that is our strength. We should make use of that strength to repurpose, increase the solubility. There are 200 drugs, I would say, who needs solubility enhancement. Take this as a national project or pilot project. Identify some statins or some other drugs. Focus on that, and it is very much feasible. And the beauty of Indian industry is that we are best formulators. We have very efficient abilities to run bioequivalence studies, both or clinical endpoint studies where you can use some patients to run those studies. I think 505(b)(2) is the way forward for India, if you ask me very candidly. And some of the examples of 505(b)(2) applications would be, convert a drug from solid dosage form to transdermal patch. Recently, I contributed to a program called as Huntington disease, which is a CNS disorder where the neurons lose their normal integrity and complicates and leads to some involuntary muscle reactions into the body. I personally contributed to that program. The drug is available. I want to give that an example so that faculty might get excited. The drug is currently available as a racemic form, as a tablet form. But the racemic, as I'm sure each one of us will know, it is equimolecular quantities of dextro and levorotatory component. But the challenge with the drug is that only the positive form, a dextrorotatory form, is clinically effective. The levorotatory form it goes and binds to the off binding targeting and leads to more side effects. The sponsor has decided to just use one isomer of that racemic mixture and see if they can give it in the form of a patch to be applied to very specific part of the body and do a sustained release delivery of that one isomer, which would go and bind to the respective receptors and produce the desired pharmacological action. And I'm happy to say that Dr. Rao would be happy. Dr. Krishna Devarakunda also contributed with me to that program. I cannot give more scientific details because of confidentiality, but I mean to say, such simple innovations can make a new product which is useful for the patients and can reduce their side effect. At the end of the day, let it be you or me, if I'm taking a drug and that drug is causing me more harm than the benefit, it's not of any use. So there are few hundred drugs available in the market. Each drug has their own limitations. We can work to improvise or strengthen those limitations into their key positive aspects. Another example of repurposing would be, as I said, ibuprofen 400 milligram, you reduce the dose to 100 milligram, but it must be able to produce the desired pharmacological or therapeutic actions to treat that disease condition. It should not be a fancy exercise that, yes, I want to do it, so let me do it, reduce the dose by 4 times. It has to be clinically supported and it should be able to create the desired efficacy into it. And as I said, route of administration from oral to topical, or oral to IV or IV to oral. People want to go from IV route to the oral route because IV route needs a specialized person to give the dosage form. I don't need a nurse or a physician. I would prefer to take a gulp of pill as against taking an intravenous injection. So, and at FDA, they have classified these changes into the formulation strategy. From you are putting a new active ingredient or a new combination or new dosage form and so forth and so on. So these are the various ways, at least 10 ways we can work across these domains to develop or repurpose the drugs. I mean, it is very much possible. It's such a right resources we have, but we need another important thing. I would recommend that we need some industry collaborations also. Let us not just try and boost ourselves that we academicians can do everything. No, our thinking is different. Our exposure to drug development is entirely different. Must have industry collaborations. Why Bombay College of Pharmacy in Mumbai, where Dr. Rao was heading that organization, have become a prominent organization because this leadership identified the need for having industry institute collaboration. And then only you can do some of the things which you cannot do in your academic setting. So my recommendation, such collaboration, and my recommendation is industry, institute and hospital collaboration. Without a clinician or clinical study, you have to go and see the patient first before you are refining your hypothesis. Go and see that patient. Just don't do anything. Just go see that patient. If you see a burned patient, then you will see, okay, I have to do something to find a cure for this burned patient. If you don't know the patient and you are doing hypothetical research, that's wrong. So now this is more into from industry perspective. When you are repurposing, some of the key or minimum studies which agency like US FDA recommends are BABE studies are most prevalent for immediate related products, and they also study the effect of food on the first column IR product, and that is a prevalent way of requirements for running these studies to get the approval. So you can just imagine a new drug development, or at least 10 different clinical studies. Here 2 to 4 clinical studies with proof of concept and a good registration trial, you are done. You are going to get the product into the market. And same thing can be for immediate extended release product and FDC products, fixed dose combination. In India, it has become a big norm, a big political headline that FDCs were scrapped because those were not rational. They were causing more harm than causing any benefit, or they were not causing clinically meaningful use to the patient. But people were just creating it for the sake of creating without putting any science behind it. So then, as I said, bridging approaches for doing such studies would be most of the times 1 or 2 BA/BE studies are enough to satisfy the regulator's needs, depending on each molecule, indication, and what dosage form you are making modifications. It is a relatively shorter pathway. I can tell you, if you have enough resources, 3 to 5 years, 3 years is an average time. If you have resources, industry partners, and enough funds, and right strategy, right advice from the regulators, very much possible, very much possible. This is again why agencies recommend such in vivo BA/BE waivers. We can get waivers if we have developed very appropriate formulation and created simulated dissolution profiles. We don't need to go for doing any clinical study or even BA/BE study in healthy humans. There are provisions which generic manufacturers know very well. They are experts. Take my word, they know in and out, and Indian generic pharma industry are the strongest in that. So we have to make use of those resources. So reasons for clinical efficacy study. Sometimes the agency recommends that why you have to do efficacy or safety studies. If you are going for a new indication, in that case, agency always asks you to create a proof of concept and run some pivotal clinical studies to support your new claim or new indication. And I won't go into these slides because they are more very specific to drug development on a product basis. So that would not be relevant to the audience. And as I said, some of the examples, chloroquine has been a very classical example how repurposing can be done. And it has been currently being used for treatment of COVID. Another successful examples of drug repurposing, each one of us must have heard about sildenafil citrate. That's a classical drug which was in the beginning was indicated for angina pectoris. However, during their internal observations or serendipitous observation, the researchers found that it can be used for treatment of erectile dysfunction, and it became a global brand for treatment of erectile dysfunction. So another example, aspirin. Aspirin is a known analgesic drug, but now a few years ago, they have come up with a new indication of the drug for treatment of colorectal cancer. So I'm to say there are enormous examples of successful repurposing. And if you want to be I want to be very candid, at least 20 to 30% drug approvals which US FDA approves are repurposed drugs, repurposed molecules. They change their indication, they change their dosage form, and so forth and so on. So that is a great area for all of us to work on. Now you would say, Manoj, you are showing very promising picture of repurposing, but what are the barriers and challenges? It's a research. Research has its own limitations and challenges. And these are the 3 key barriers or challenges we have to face. Because from a marketing or business perspective, any pharma company would want to have a robust IP protection around it, and therefore your innovation. So don't think that repurposing is not an innovation. That is more, it needs your more acute thinking and innovative approaches to circumvent. Means we don't have to touch to the original approved patent, but create your formulation or indication so uniquely that you can create a new IP around it. That becomes an important area or challenge, I would say, while developing repurposed drugs. And while just developing, just don't think that, okay, I have this very good idea, let me go ahead and repurpose this thing. No, but my recommendation would be, and early interactions with the regulatory agencies, say like DCGI or US FDA or EU authorities or Australian, go talk to them, discuss with them your robust non-clinical and clinical development plan. They would give you some recommendations, and then based on those recommendations, either you continue your research with support from government or pharma industry, or get some investors to boost your pipeline to create or go to the next level of drug development. And most important barrier in academic setting, I would say, organizational hurdles. Why I say so? The leadership in a pharmacy school, say a principal or director, he or she should let their faculty members come up with idea, challenge them scientifically. Just don't push them to just keep on teaching the students, which don't take me, I was a faculty, you know, teaching is a redundant process. Each year, in the first 2 years, you create slides, you create your material and use it forever till you retire from the academic institute. My recommendation is that the directors of the institute should promote and interdisciplinary research within the organization. We have to take out the political part from that process, and that is the role of a leader. Leader should clearly tell them that keep your personal preferences aside. This is the project for this organization. We have to work hand in hand and bring in all, say, analysis people, pharmacognosy, formulation and pharmaceutics people together. Create the teams of those experts, one project, one disease, and it has to translate from one department to another department in the same college. And then you take my word, the kind of quality data you will create is enormous. To give an example, you have identified a project site. Now, please ask the analytical department to develop a robust HPLC or appropriate quantification method. Let the pharmaceutics department give a challenge, give them constructive, healthy challenges to develop the most reliable, reproducible, and stable formulation. Pharmacology department, suppose these two drug departments have done their job, give it that formulation to the pharmacology department. Run very efficient, very robust, statistically meaningful animal studies. Your data is there, and chemistry people will work with the pharmaceutics and analytical department from their chemistry point of view, that what is right and what is not feasible. So these 4 departments, your drugs are moving forward, but they don't talk to each other. They are busy doing their own stuff and getting involved into non-scientific exercises. So organizational leadership must promote such kind of team-based, or I would say fancy word, translational science research. And as I said, some of the recommendations, we need integrative platforms. And don't do just conventional drug development. Make use of the resources available at clinics and big data access, which everybody is aware now. And you know, as I said, there has to be a collaboration between industry, academia, and some clinicians. Then you become a good organization to generate some good outcomes. And these are some of the organizations which are globally working on repurposing, and we have a Translational Research Institute in New Delhi. So my recommendation to or request to Dr. Nara and that, you know, you are in a leadership project position now. Can you please create some clusters across the country on translational drug development, where we use the best brains from, we can take a combination of premier pharmaceutical institutions, but I don't want only good institutions to do that. I want smaller aspiring institutions which are present at the district level or remote, they do not have resources. Connect these together, and then only we can, in true sense, do translational drug development. And as I said, one disease area to be identified. And if you see what I hear is my dream or my ambition is, we should be able to repurpose drugs for infectious diseases. Why I am saying so? We have enormous number of patient population. If we have to do clinical studies, we have enormous clinical experience. Nobody in the world, I would say with utmost conviction, physicians are capable of treating infectious diseases better than Indian physicians. Don't take me wrong, it's not a comparison, but you know, because they have seen so much of abundant of patients, they know how to treat them clinically. And we have to come together to give right kind of drugs for treating infectious diseases. So some organizations of translational drug development across, or we can start with one pilot project and see how it becomes successful, but that would need resources, government or appropriate regulatory authorities support and funds and experts. Most importantly, experts who have really done repurposing. Let us not bring typical academicians who are who have never done drug development. We can get their ideas, but we must have industry representation along with clinicians and regulators. Only then this team will make a drug. Otherwise, most of the times what happens, the people who have never developed a single drug in their whole life, they become experts and guide to the industry. Then that is not the right way to doing drug development. That would become a difficult situation to do anything. And this slide already I have said, we are one of the finest infrastructure for formulation and development, excellent scientists, and our urge to do something good is high, and I think we are quite capable of doing that. And as I said, structured long-term strategy for each organization should be built from pharmacy school perspective, or any organization which are involved into repurposing. Identify one disease, one area, 3-year, 5-year plan. Just focus on that. Let there be failures, as Dr. Rao said. Don't get bogged out with the failure. We will find out the solutions. Backup strategies should be there. And do not expect for a quick return on investment. Suppose as a company you have invested 10 crore rupees. Don't expect I want return in 2 years. No, hold on. Because if your one drug becomes a global brand, you will earn in few thousand crores. Just hold on, invest on some multiple things. Then only we will generate good quality products, which are globally important. Then, as I said, partnership is key, and funding is even more important. As I know in some of the pharmacy schools, the young faculty want to do research, but they don't have enough resources and funding. So my recommendation, write good grants. When I say good grants, that's why you have to have a preliminary data done. Don't just write an hypothetical grant to the agency, DBT, DST, and CSR and ask them give us funding 50 lakh and 100 lakh. No, you create a robust evidence for that. So my urge to all the faculty today, please create a very robust, reliable, and reproducible. 3R, remember, robust, reliable, and reproducible data in-house on the project you want to apply for funding. I can help you review and give some comments to those applications which you are writing. And as I said, translational science is must. This already I have said, I don't want to repeat. And as I said, what are the opportunities globally? Yes, on the left hand side, you see, you can become a pharmacist, especially the faculty, and you can convey to your students. You can become an exceptional pharmacognosy expert. Don't worry, don't think that if we are working on natural product, there is no scope. There is a general consensus in India. Oh, are you doing MPharm in pharmacognosy? Oh, then you will not get a faculty position. Oh, very difficult. Don't worry about that. If you are really doing a very good research, the world will come to you. But you should have that acumen and expertise to be able to become an expert. While we are master of all, jack of none, but I think we are quite capable. Being a pharmacy professional, we should become expert in each one of our field. And you can start your own companies if you have enough industry exposure and academic acumen to work together with appropriate biotech and pharma companies. That's another area. And we can become regulators, the pharmacist, you can go to DCGI, become a reviewer, you can become drug controller. But my recommendation, such regulatory positions should be people who are rich in their actual experience and doing drug development per se. They should take hold of such key positions, as against just is the mere of upgradation into the profession that I have been into this position for 20 years. I should not become a regulatory authority. I should have, or train those regulators also. Send them to US FDA, EMA, and all other globally. Let them go learn, not 2 and 3 months. Send them for 1 to 3 years. Then only they will learn substantially. Otherwise, it's a touch and go exercise. they don't get anything, they get excited, they say want to stay back to those countries. So I have a very pragmatic, very open, sometimes caustic views, but take them with a pinch of salt. And I want each one of us, the faculty who are attending in today's program, I want you and each one of us to be a happy scientist. A scientist should not be frustrated scientist. If you are frustrated in terms of, oh, I don't have this chemical, my colleague didn't share this thing with me and that thing with me, don't get into those. And if for that, you to become a happy scientist, you should have utmost confidence, clarity and focus. What you want to achieve out of that research work you are doing, how you are going to make a contribution to the scientific pool of experts or knowledge by sharing that science would make you happy. And whatever work you are doing, if you are not happy at the end of the day, if you are working 15 hours in the lab, I remember Dr. Suresh, when I was talking to him last week, he said, sir, I used to sleep with my students in the school. So that gave me very, a positive sense that, there are people who want to do something good. We need to nurture those souls and give them right food for thought and science, and they would become exceptional scientists. Why everybody has become scientists? Why people become Nobel laureate? They are like you and me. Only thing, they have their confidence, clarity and focus. And on the right hand see, they should be dedicated, and you should have a strong determination to do what you want. Do not get worried about the failures. And elasticity, suppose you work for one project for say 3 years, it didn't lead to a product fructification. Don't worry about the failures. You have learned enormous in those failures. And you should be elastic in the sense you should be willing to change the direction based on the outcome. Because if one failure and we will say, oh, I don't want to work in this direction. No, don't be so. So faculties, all the faculty, my urge, request, plight, recommendation, please become an happy scientist, happy teacher. If a teacher is happy, he or she can give positive knowledge, recommendations and vibrations to the students, because the onus is on us as a teacher to create the next generation of teachers or researchers and scientists and regulators. So, and because I was a teacher, I am a son of a teacher, I understand the critically important role of a teacher in shaping up the life of the students. I want to give you now, as the teacher has come up, my guru is Dr. Nilima Kshirsagar, which Dr. Rao know. I am folding my hands for her right from here. If you tell me, Manoj, can you do a Sastang Namaskar to her? Yes, I can do it right away from here, because she has taught the right science, right ethics, right qualities for you to become a good teacher or good scientist. And why those? Because that, we as a student look up to the teachers as a symbol of, somebody to be followed and echoed because of their good qualities, their dedication and teachings, which are very unbiased, scientifically enriched. And that is how we become, or we are creating the next level of scientists. So my urge and request to all you teacher, you become role model for your students. And let us be always positive and pleasant, which would make things easy for all of us to be exceptional leaders, scientists, pharmacists. And I like this quote written by Sadhguru from ISHA Foundation. We have to be willing, let me read it and then I'll explain. If you shift from unwillingness to willingness, from inertia to effervescence, your life will be joyful and effortless. So my urge to all the teachers and students, let us be willing to learn something, do something, contribute something. And if that happens, don't just do a job of 9 to 4 o'clock. I go to my college 9 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock finished. I took 3 lectures, took one experimental exercise for my students. I am done. No, please be willing to do something different, something new, something more positive for your students. But equally, the students should be equally responding to that process. I know the challenging situations in Indian context, but if the teacher is willing and proactive to give genuinely, the student will come. That's what I believe. And with this, I think I thank everybody for being patient with my listening, and thank you all the organizers, Dr. Suresh, Dr. Narayana, and Dr. Rao, and all the people who are listening to me. Sorry, I can't see each one of your faces, but what I can volunteer to you from this uh, 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 interaction is that you can reach out to me if you need my help scientifically to help you in designing some strategies, and which I just opined that, if we could develop some translational drug development institutes or clusters in the country, I think we can do phenomenal job. We can do collaborations with premier institutes, but my urge is we have to nurture the small institutes in small places. Otherwise, the big institutes become big and bigger. The small players say, no, sir, we are in a small town in a district place. They don't even review our applications. I don't want that thing to happen. The big players or big brothers should help the younger ones. That's what I believe. And then we don't have to we can look up to these national premier pharma institutes and colleges as our role model, and they have to support these smaller institutes to do translational research. And that kind of cohesive collaboration between industry, academia, clinical hospitals, and regulators, these four pieces come together, I think we will be willing, and my gut feel is that we can bring drugs under repurposing pathways for the betterment of our people. Infectious diseases is my recommendation. We should focus on. We have so many problems as far as these infectious diseases conditions. Let us make use of our strengths to do a meaningful contribution. So that's it. This is what I wanted to say, and thanks to each one of you. I can stop now. Any questions, recommendations, suggestions, I'm happy to answer. Dr. Suresh, any recommendations or any comments from the
Sir, I'm going through the comments.
Well said, Manoj. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think we should walk the talk, in the sense that you have suggested to me and Dr. Narayana that we can set up a consortium kind of thing.
Yes.
From my perspective, 2 people can join, and then the rest can join, because if we want all the people to come at one time, it may not be possible.
Yes.
We can even do an international consortium, because we do have connections with some very good research group in Korea.
Yes.
Dr. Narayana and myself had that interaction. So if someone like you also would join, we would build one, and all the colleges where they have a zeal and interest,
Yes.
because some of the people would do it for the sake of doing it, but I do not know where they will take it. I want that to go to the next level.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll plan from IPA.
Yeah,
Yes,
we should.
And I want to be very candid with you both. That's my dream. When I become 50-year-old, now I'm 42, I have 8 more years. If nobody does in these next 8 years, I will be doing by myself in India. Take my word. By the time I will generate money and resources so that I will go and start my own institution. Meanwhile, if you are willing, I am happy to contribute.
Probably will make enough platform for you to do that subsequently.
Yeah, no, I have a genuine urge, because I was a teacher, and the teacher has not gone out of me even after 10 years of living that profession. And
somebody told me, Manoj, if you have cholesterol in your blood, you can get that out. But if you are teaching in your blood, you can't get it out.
And it's in my blood, I'm son of a
right.
So, yes, I want to do something, and finest students are there. I'm telling you, Miss, you know better than me. You have seen, you are 20 years ahead of me. Best brains are there. The same student come here and speak fancy stuff. Take my example. I have studied in India. I have done my bachelor, master's, PhD, all education. Indian teachers and Indian system has taught me everything. Take my word. I owe my all success to all my teachers and guru who have taught me in Indian resource limited settings. What I learned in US in last 10 years is a structured thinking. That's it. Nothing I did.
That's right. Yeah.
USA did not taught me what I have learned already in India. I'm being very candid. I can tell it to anybody. What I learned here, the structured thinking, think through the whole process of drug development and how it can be implemented into real life situation. That is what this Bhumi in US has taught me, but my Janma Bhumi has already given me everything in the beginning. So I owe, and that's why I have urged to give back. And therefore, I am ready to contribute, collaborate. Dr. Rao, as you said, happy to give my some time. Doesn't matter. I can sleep 1 hour less every day. But if that can help and, make 4 students become good scientists, that's a teacher in me is contributing back to my society.
Narayana, Manoj was also associated with Dr. D.R. Krishna.
Yeah, he
Yes.
was mentioning in his talk.
He is again a finance teacher. I can fold hands for him. I have no hesitation to be grateful to these people. He's super teacher, and he is still. I'm in touch with him. I discuss many my research ideas with him, and we have such a.
I know that is how I came into your program in Hyderabad, Radisson.
Yes.
Remember
yes.
that very well.
Yeah. And we can also rope in him when we have created a very appropriate platform, because I want to contribute and learn and do something by myself. I don't want to touch these senior people because they have already told me what I should be doing. Now I cannot go back and ask them the same question. What should I do now? No, let us create that structure, infrastructure, and that consortium. Set one goal, 3 years, funding, resources, and experts. I am going to give my time to this cause. Doesn't matter. I don't need any money at all. I'm being very candid. Although I don't have much money, but then people talk on such platforms. I want to do, and then offline they will say, what is my contract and how you will remunerate me, $500 per hour or $1,000 per hour. I volunteer to this without taking a single penny, period. That's
We
sharing.
even know of people who said that, okay, shall I submit my business class ticket?
If at all there is a need to come, and I will say that, okay, I'm coming to India this time, we can set up, meet up. And if at all, and my current need is not business class, I can travel through economic class if at all there is a need. But we can achieve many things through this platform. Zoom is there, world can talk and discuss anything.
Yes, obviously. That.
Yeah.
Definitely,
very
Dr.
correct.
Manoj, thanks for volunteering your services.
Yes.
So we will plan, myself, Dr. Rao, will come out with that cluster module with the IPA.
Yes.
We will take it as a project, and we will select not only the hi-fi colleges, even rural colleges. Definitely, we'll try to help from our side to the rural parts of India. No doubt.
Yes.
Right.
You're speaking my mind. Probably the nature has a different alignment. Probably you both are available who are in the leadership role from Indian context, and all the faculties are witnessing this discussion. This is the need of the hour, and we need support from you, leadership locally there, and I can contribute. Let us do something. There are many rural challenges. You know better than me. Poor people don't have basic medicines available. Why not just modify it, reformulate, make it more stable? It need not have to be stored in the refrigerator. I can put it in my small hut in a small box, use it for whenever needed. Enormous challenges. I am in, count me in for any contribution.
I think Dr. Suresh,
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Suresh,
Yes.
you can post the questions to Dr. Manoj afterwards, and
Sure, sir.
whatever the answers and all, you can put it on the
Okay, sir.
website. That will be
Thank
ideal.
you, sir.
Yeah.
I will do that, sir.
Thank you for your
I'll post.
encouragement, both of you.
Thank you,
And
sir.
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, Dr. Rao, I truly appreciate your energy support, in the sense we need leadership to support the next generation. And thank you.
You
for
and
that.
me are on the same age only. You said 48, right?
42.
42.
42.
Yes, I am 42.
42. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just 68. Very,
No,
very young
you are
68.
42 years experience.
Yeah, that's it. See, my age is your experience, so I have to make use of that experience.
No, I don't feel that. And at the same time, there's always a zeal from inside that I need to do something more.
Yes, yes. No, I am in agreement. I am with you all. Happy to bring in more people. It's not only me. I will bring in like-minded people from here who are working in industry, who have their own companies. We will create those ecosystem. But
Yeah.
my recommendation: let us create our base to be very robust base. It should not be shaky base that in 2 years Manoj falter away, whosoever from the other side goes away. No, it has to be sustainable program for a long time, because it's a drug development and it should sustain. I will give you one example where I contributed under the leadership of Dr. Shirsagar. When I was faculty with Dr. Shirsagar at KEM, we in collaboration with IIT Mumbai, Dr. Professor Ravi, who is an expert in biomedical device development. So when I was in Mumbai in 2008, we created a consortium through Government of Maharashtra. And that consortium, I was the focal point coordinating the whole efforts. And I was frustrated what I am doing. I don't know. We used to talk to all the scientists, politicians and academicians. But now that project has come up so vividly that Prime Minister of India, Dr. Modi, visited that lab in IIT Mumbai. Professor Ravi is leading that effort. So, it's a long-term challenge, many tough and peak situations, but now it is a successful model. So I would want to create that kind of model where some few people have to be there for a long period of time to see the fruits. Now, after 10 years, when I see that has become a success story, I feel happy that I was part of that consortium where I contributed, but when I came back, Dr. Shirsagar and her team continued to do so. But such long-term vision we should have, at least 5-year plan. 3-year, one product should come out in 3 years. 5-year, 2 products, and multiple team come together. Wonderful. My aim, and I would want to have one botanical coming from India in next 3 years. 3 years is a long time. I can do it in 2 years. If resources and people are there, only 2 botanicals are approved by US FDA as of now today. We talk about Indian heritage of Ayurveda and natural products, enormous resources. Ayush and government has enormous money, but nobody want to do it in a structured way. They are in a hurry to make money. If that is the context, I am out. But if we want to create a robust, reliable, reproducible strategies and data, I am in, and I will help you guys as a team to take it forward. So sorry, I become emotional when all such.
Good. Suresh.
Sir,
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
can wind up,
Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir.
Please, Suresh.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your inspirational speech on translation medicines and reposed drugs and US FDA guidelines. So you have given elaborate, thorough knowledge, and majority of feedbacks are coming as they would like to collaborate with you. I'm going to share the persons and everything, whatever they are asking in the chat box.
Please.
I will re-communicate to the audience or the participants.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Have a good evening, and
Thank you, sir.
I'll be in touch with you. Thank you so much. I have another meeting because this is a daytime for me here. So Dr. Rao and Dr. Narayan and Dr. Suresh, can you please excuse me? I have some other commitments
Okay.
in this.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay,
We'll be
thank
in
you
touch
so
with
much.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you
thank
for
Good
valuable.
night.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, TV Narayan, sir. Thank you, Adlamudi, sir. Wow, sir.
Welcome. Right.
Thank you, Narayan Garu, for your valuable time and Raw Lumad, sir, for sparing 1 hour with us. We are very much thankful to you, sir.
Okay. Okay.
It is a fruitful discussion, sir. Not only a
Yeah.
deliberation. So thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Okay. Right.
Okay.